Hi, I'm Troy Wills, street coach for the men's basketball team here at the University of Tennessee. I'm here with Skylar McBee, one of our players. We're going to demonstrate some of the exercises and workout that we think you'll be able to do at home to help start getting yourself into elite shape. The first exercise Skylar and I are going to start with is the push-up. It's going to be working on the chest, shoulders, and triceps. It's a common exercise, but there's some things and little tricks to it to do it efficiently and correctly that aren't commonly known. The first thing, if you watch Skylar here with his hands, the first thing he's going to do is he's going to take the palms of his hands and turn them, rotate them inward towards his hips. And what that does is that puts pressure in the palms of his hands, activates his triceps, and therefore will make him more efficient when he does the push-up. Now he's going to get into a push-up position. His body's in a straight line. He wants to make sure that his hips aren't sagging too much or his hips aren't too high. Everything's in a straight line. Therefore, you get a little bit of abdominal work in there and a little bit of core work with your glutes and your low back. Now, the exercise prescription will be do 10 to 15 push-ups. Skylar, you go ahead and do a few push-ups to show the correct form. He controls all the way down and up. His body stays in the same position. Now, all the pressure in his triceps, right here, his chest, of course, and then his shoulders. Thanks, Skylar. The next exercise that Skylar's going to demonstrate for us is the squat. It's the primary exercise that we use to strengthen and train the lower body. Now what we do here, sometimes, in some cases, is to get the squat position right and to get you to feel it where it's supposed to be. We'll put some type of device, usually like a band right here, right above the knee. You see Skylar's knees right here, okay? And one of the laws of human mechanics, or body mechanics, is if you want position, if you want somebody to push a certain way, okay, you put pressure against it. If I wanted Skylar to come towards me, I would put pressure here, and he would naturally lean into me, okay? So, by putting pressure right here, it's going to make him want to sit down more so than putting pressure into his knees, and then putting pressure into his toes, and then therefore putting pressure into his knees. We want to keep all the weight in the heels and in the hips. We want to keep pressure off the knees. That's the primary reason we do the squat, is to learn to protect the knees. Okay? So the first thing Skylar's going to do is wiggle his toes, just so he feels the pressure in his heels. Okay? He may even want to open up his toes slightly, just slightly, and he's going to put all of his pressure right here in the outside of his heels. Now, with the band, he's going to keep his chest up, and he's going to lower himself down to a squat position. Nice controlled position, just like that. It's actually easier to go down on this because you've got some support here. All right, and he's coming back up. And now we'll just repeat that. Okay? Go ahead and keep going. You don't have to pause at the bottom because when you're doing this, the exercise prescription is 30 seconds. You don't want to go up and down so fast that you're not getting a full range of motion or that pressure's coming out into your toe and then into your knee. If you start putting pressure into your toe, Skylar, show them what happens when you put pressure into your toe. Push into your toe. See how the knees go forward in front of the toe? That's not where you want to be. Okay? And that can cause injury, acute and chronic. So we want to develop the movement pattern where we control the hip with the heel right here. Okay? Now, what we can also do, go ahead and Skylar, step out of that if you would. Progression of this exercise is the stagger squat, okay? And all that does is it just promotes more Achilles tendon flexibility, more flexibility of the feet, a better sense of balance in the athlete, and we also learn to strengthen both sides in an isolateral fashion. That means like we kind of figure out which side's weaker and stronger, which side's more flexible. Okay, so Skylar, step back with your right foot, forward with your left. He's going to stagger his stance, where the toe is behind the heel of that. He's going to again dig his heels into the ground, and he's going to just do a squat with this position. There we go. See, he's still maintaining form where his knee does not go in front of his toe. Keep going. There you go. Good. And he just sits back. Now your first few squats, you may not be able to sit all the way down to a regular squat. You may not be able to ever, and that's okay. But the main thing you want is to always feel pressure in your heels and feel like your hips are doing the work. Hips are doing the work. You hear it a lot of times. Be a hip bender, not a knee bender, not a waist bender, a hip bender. Okay? When asked about the core exercises and my primary abdominal exercises, I always talk about static abs and doing different planks, okay? And this is similar, you'll see these in Pilates or yoga movements, but this is just breaking it down into core exercise where you use your lower abs, okay, and your glutes to keep your hips in line. In fact, Skylar was to suck in a little bit and tuck a little more, and he wants to try to keep his body in a straight line when he's in this position. Also, was to focus on having his elbows right below his shoulders, not out front, not behind. That puts pressure in the right spots, and it also helps support our rotator cuff and gain rotator cuff strength. Now, what you want to do is be able to hold this position for as long as you can. You see Skylar starting to shake a little bit, it takes time. When you start feeling that, start thinking about contracting the lower abs and tightening the glutes. A progression of this exercise is a little bit of movement. Okay? He's going to start alternating leg kickouts. That stabilizes the rest of his body, and he's moving the other. This is a great exercise to improve lower back health and lower body strength. Thanks, God. Now, one of the next movements that we do for our core is the side plank. Do this on the right and left elbow. We're just going to show the right elbow today. Now, again, his elbow is going to be right below his shoulder. Don't want his elbow way out here or way underneath. His hips are still in line this way. But what's even more important is that we're keeping everything in a straight line here. Okay? Now, by tightening this oblique right here, okay, this is holding him up. If he starts sagging, shoulder sag, like you sag, straight there. Okay, just think about pushing this hip up towards the ceiling and holding up. Okay, you get a little bit shaky because it's everything involved here. Okay, this is an exercise that can strengthen everything. A progression of it would be side hip dips. Okay, and that's where you just lower it down and push back up like this. You're gonna feel that a lot more in here. It's gonna wear you out. One of the toughest muscles to exercise with no equipment is the back and the rear shoulders, back in here. But it's one of the most important as well. It promotes shoulder stability and muscle balance. A lot of times you'll see guys that bench press, then a lot of push-ups, whatever, and their shoulders start to round and go like this. And they develop a lot of shoulder problems, a lot of tendonitis, things like that. You want to always make sure that you try to equalize your volume. That means the number of reps that you perform pushing with the number of reps you perform pulling, okay? Now, to do that, unless you can do pull-ups, which are tough for a lot of the general population, you want to find something that you can do a row with. I've suggested a bungee cord. Right here we have Skylar, and he has some therapy to it, okay? And you can get this from a physical therapist. You can go to a lot of different places to get this. Athletic training room, whatever, you can get that. We also have some bands that we're going to show as well. But the first exercise we're just going to show with some tubing that you could probably find in a lot of different places. You know, you can get creative with this as well. I mean, just thinking off the top of my head, I can think maybe possibly a bicycle tube would be one you could use. And just find different ways to use it in a rowing fashion. Just think about the opposite of pressing. The opposite of pressing. Now, Skylar's going to show us first a two-hand row with this tube. His hands are far enough apart that he can still pull them back underneath his shoulders, all right? When he does this, he wants to keep as much distance between the tops of his shoulders and his ears as possible. Like if he scrunches up, show him like you do. Scrunches up like this. This is going to be an inefficient movement. It can strain his neck a little bit. We want to make sure that we stay here. Keep these shoulder blades down. The first move before he bends the elbow is going to be using this muscle to pull back, okay? Now he's going to do a couple of reps, and he's going to think about spreading his shoulder blades out at the end, squeezing them together. Let's finish right here, okay? There you go, good. And make sure he's still keeping his chest up, but see how he can still spread his shoulder blades apart. Now, to progress this, Skylar, you can stop right there. We can go one-handed. Okay? Now if he wants to go one-handed, he still thinks about maintaining his shoulders towards where he's pulling to. Keeps his elbow underneath the shoulder, fist underneath the shoulder. Still, first movement is the shoulder blade muscle. It's called the rhomboid. It's right here. And it's just going to pull the shoulder blade back. Go ahead. Good. And still, you have to constantly focus on not letting that elbow, not letting that shoulder come up towards the ear. Okay? Do a couple more of this guy. Good. Good. And he wants to think about pulling his elbow through his hip. Elbow through his hip, down through his hip. Good. Relax. Now, some of the things that we do, because we may not have enough road machines, we may not have enough time, we may be on the road and have to do some things. We'll take these bands, okay? Now, a lot of times these bands are sold at Walmart, Sam's. You can even get them at Dick's, places like that. And they vary in size and resistance. Skylar can take this band, go ahead, and he can do the same thing. It's just a little bit more resistance. Okay, so let's do about 3 reps. There you go, good. Same thing. And then do 3 reps single arm. There you go. Good. And even to create more resistance, if he wanted to, he could step back further. Okay? The last one, of course, that's just even thicker one. That's about as thick as you would go with a single arm row. Okay? What we tried to provide you with is some basic exercises that can get you started on your own fitness program. Just like the freshmen that come here to me, you have to start somewhere. The key is that you start. You set yourself goals and you try to attain them, and you use each workout as a step towards that ultimate goal.